Hi everyone, welcome to the Citizen channel. I hope you're all very well. We have a City Past feature today, and it's a Players in Time feature. So we're going to have a look at a player that perhaps flies under the radar a little bit. Some of these players, I'm not going to pick the obvious ones. So it's an interesting one, this, because we're going to look at a guy called Alex Harley. Or Alex Harley. He was Alexander Harley christened, and he's better known as Alex Harley. Please, if you're new to this channel, please push that subscribe button, push the bell notifications, and all these vlogs are coming out. Obviously I do City Present and City Past, and please, if you check the playlist, I do little things on films and TV as well, so if you or anyone you know might be interested in that, absolutely fantastic. Please push that subscribe button and tell your friends about this channel. I try to inform and entertain as best I can anyway, and all comments are very appreciated. And please, if you can't leave a comment or about Alex Harley or anything you want to comment about. It doesn't have to be about this player we're talking about today, anything at all. Please, if you've no time for that, just so I know you're there, please just leave us a little thumbs up. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Alexander Harley was just one season at Manchester City. So yeah, that's probably why he flew under the radar a little bit, but he would become our top scorer for that season, become a bit of a cult hero as well. I mean, not my words, these are the words used at the time. In a very poor season for City, 1962-63, that actually saw us get relegated, but hey, he actually was one of the bright spots in that season. It was doing I was doing a preview of the Burnley game actually. When I was doing that, obviously I'm recording this a week or so after we played Burnley in the Premier League, so not too sure when you'll be watching this, but a few weeks back anyway, and I was doing it, and I came across the player Alex Harley, or Alex Harley. I'll call him Alex or Alec, I mean, forgive me, because I had spotted him before, of course, in my history vlogs, etc. over the years, but obviously when you just play one season, you sort of tend to get missed, don't you? But this Alex Harley had scored against, he scored against Burnley in a game from the past that I featured. So I was quite interested, and coincidentally, I think the next day after, I actually found a little piece in the 2014-15 season. City were giving these little publications away with the match programmes, these city story things. So yeah, I come across a little piece on Alex Harley in there as well. So there's the guy. Fantastic. You'll see the image later when I read the article in there as well. But so that sort of just piqued me interest even more, because it was just a coincidence I came across that literally 3 or 4 days after I decided that I'll have to have a look at this guy, because there's not a lot on the internet, there's not a lot on Google on this gentleman. Yeah, so let's have a little look at him. Alex Harley, or Alex Harley, was born on the 20th of April 1936. He was born in Glasgow, so he's a Scottish lad. He signed for Third Lanark in 1958, the year before I was born, and scored 71 goals in 2 seasons from 1960 to 62, so quite impressive. His 42 goals in the 60-61 season made him the highest scorer in the Scottish Football League First Division. So it's no wonder sort of he took City's eye, was he? I mean, City at the time were a little bit short of cash at that time. We were sort of looking for good bargains, obviously north of the border. We weren't afraid to go up there to try and get... We had a quite good scouting system, even though we were struggling a little bit. So on the 24th of August 1962, it wasn't, the season had already started, we'd already played a couple of games, but we actually signed Alex Harley on the 24th of August. So we were signed for the 62-63 season, and he managed to get him in the squad. So obviously we didn't do the squad pictures before the season by the looks of it, because obviously we knew the transfers were probably going to go up into the season. So you can see we've got an image there from early doors of him actually on the front row there. I've sort of labelled him or circled him there on the front row of the 62-63 squad. I mean, they used to sort of do these pictures, then you saw a little pen picture in a corner, didn't they? They used to sign these players, but no, he managed to get on the first team squad, which was great, because I said he did sign a couple of games into the season. £19,500 he made. It was quite significant. Obviously there'll be more on that later when he does leave us and how much we got back for him. He made his debut in the third league game, just a day after officially signing, in a 2-0 defeat at Aston Villa on the 25th of August 1962. The team that day, just as an interesting, actually Troutman was in there, although Harry Dow did actually finish the season. Troutman didn't play many games that season, and obviously it was actually Harry Dowd who played the majority in goal. But that day it was Troutman, Betts, Kennedy, Benson, Plenderleaf, Oakes, Young, Dobing, Harley, Shawcross and Wagstaff. And he would actually wear, from that game, the number 9 shirt all season. I mean, so he would actually play number 9 for the rest of the season. His first league goal came in a 4-2 defeat at White Hart Lane on September the 1st, and he would go on really to be a regular scorer on and off from then on. And obviously when he did have his little goal droughts, it was noticed, but we'll talk about that in a moment because obviously it's mentioned. He scored one of the 3 goals in a 3-2 win at Old Trafford, so as we know, always got to endear a player to City fans. Always got, perhaps that alone gives you legend status, scoring at Old Trafford against United, doesn't it? But he did score one of the goals in a 3-2 win on the 15th of September 1962, and his first and only hat-trick, he only had one hat-trick for all these goals he used to score, was on October the 20th at Main Road against Sheffield Wednesday, again a 3-2 win. So even when we won these games, they were tight, weren't they? In front of just over 20,000, so just snuck over 20,000 spectators, and that's certainly not a big crowd, but their enthusiasm was obvious, because I've got a little piece taken from the editorial here for the home game with Everton 2 weeks later on the 3rd of November 1962. He actually says it within the editorial. Finally, a word of warning. Here we go. When Alex Harley completed his great hat-trick against Sheffield Wednesday in our last home match, many spectators invaded the pitch to congratulate him. So it wasn't the biggest crowd, but they were still keen, weren't they? Still keen supporters. Whilst the club can understand and appreciate the enthusiasm displayed, it must be firmly emphasised that encroachment of the playing pitch is a violation of the Football Association rules. So, yeah, I mean, so obviously did perhaps joy was a little bit thin on the ground that season. We were always sort of in the bottom 4 or 5 of the table, and we were struggling, but obviously the City fans did get a bit enthusiastic, and obviously the hat-tricks, would they be greeted with the same sort of thing these days? Possibly not, but you get the match ball though, wouldn't you? I don't think you could afford to in those days. So by the 1st of December 1962, it was thought that perhaps City and the fans were expecting a little too much from Harley, because his goal scoring record was really good. So as I said, he did have a little bit of a drought. He was getting criticism, believe it or not, which is hard to fathom really, isn't it? But in the editorial for the Arsenal game on the 1st of December 1962, again, it quotes a recent visit to Craven Cottage. I mean, he returned to the City team. Just reading from the article, the revival was splendidly maintained by the victory at Craven Cottage last week, with Alex Harley once more returning to match-winning ways. So he's had a little bit of a drought, a handful of games. We're not talking 10, 15 games here. He just not scored for 3 or 4 games. Alex Harley once more returning to match-winning ways with 2 splendidly taken goals following a brief spell off the goal standard, they call it. Alex has been such a free scorer since he arrived at Main Road that we have come to feel a bit let down if he goes through a match without scoring at least once. A bit hard on the player, but his record of 18 goals in 22 games, obviously at this game, since he joined the club has set a tremendous pace. Indeed, in having got such a lot from this big-hearted player, we must be careful not to expect too much. So there you go. So, hey, hi. The poor guy's knocking him in for fun, and we're still obviously getting criticised when he doesn't score for 2 or 3 games. So there you go. Yeah, but City were having a tough season in that season. Obviously, it came down right to the end of the season. It a real crunch, and a gentleman called Alan Richards was writing for this magazine I showed you before, for the City Match programme, and this piece in it, City Stories. I think it was the 14-15 season, and he wrote about the lead up to the Main Road derby, which was the penultimate game of the season, which obviously City struggling, and obviously United were in a little bit of trouble themselves as well, but City were desperate for a win, and of course with Alex Harley anything was possible. And the build up to the game, obviously there's a lot of pressure put onto Alex Harley. But it's interesting, I'll just read from what Alan Richards wrote in this in the programme. He entitled it Fancy a Harley. by Alan Richards. No, not the iconic motorcycle from Milwaukee. I'm talking about Alex Harley. A 1962 signing from Third Land at the 62-63 season was fraught along with his mate Matt Gray and local lad and winger start David Wagstaff. He was another guy who left City that the fans didn't like when he left. Alex was arguably the brightest of just 3 stars in our sky. He'd netted 63 times in 85 appearances north of the border. Once in England, this Harley hit the ground running. Revved up and ready to roll, barrel-chested, Alex soon became a cult hero. Short shorts pulled high up his muscular thighs. He was as big in the blue camp as then as Kun Aguero was now. Minus, this is 14-15, the Kun Aguero's still big now, isn't he? Minus the success, of course. Back then we could only have dreamed of league titles and Wembley visits. This was austerity City. We'd hit upon some hard times. As both City and United found themselves in a relegation dogfight, fate conspired to have our final home game midweek in May against our deadly local rivals. United had already made their way to the FA Cup final. Yeah, they won that as well. The sun was still shining at Main Road as about 62,000 fans packed in, rabid in their rivalry. Most of the Reds were in the open scoreboard end. City took the lead from, of course, Mr. Harley. City took the lead through Harley, but as the tension became unbearable, our keeper, Harry Dowd, was adjudged to have brought down a certain Dennis Law as the ball was running harmlessly out of play. Penalty, controversy reigned, and all hell broke loose. Yes, I mean, it was the softest penalty you've ever seen. I didn't see it, but I have had it described to me. I can still see United's Albert Quicksall, a blonde-haired inside forward signed from Sheffield Wednesday just after the Munich disaster for a then record fee of £45,000. The whole ground fell silent as Albert buried the ball unerringly in the back of our net, right in front of that open end full of Reds. This equaliser assured United of a First Division place next season. We were doomed. Doomed, I tell you. I added that. The following Saturday, we were thrashed 6-1 at the Boleyn Ground, or Upton Park, whatever you want to call it, by Bobby Moore and his Hammers. Thus, City were condemned to the indignity of 2 years in the second tier. Not even Alex Harley's creditable tally of 23 goals in 40 appearances could save us. There you go. So that was interesting. So even though he scored again, I mean, again, another hero, he scored against United, it wasn't enough, was it? That was a good piece there. I mean, outside of the league, as I said, we did end up going down, unfortunately. 21st place. There's only one team worse than us that season. I mean, in the FA Cup, again, Mr. Alex Harley, we were knocked out in the 5th round, but we'd actually played 3 games, and obviously Harley had scored 1 City goal in each, and we'd won the first 2 1-0 and lost the last one 2-1 at Norwich. So obviously he scored in all 3 FA Cup games there. In the League Cup, we'd actually made it to the quarterfinals. We'd lost 6-0 at Birmingham. Birmingham City would play a part in this as well, with Alex Harley as well. We lost 6-0 at Birmingham in the quarterfinals, but Harley again has scored in every single round of the League Cup up to the quarterfinals. So it wasn't just in the league he was prolific at scoring. I mean, his appearances that season, his stats that season, he had 40 league appearances, 23 goals in 40 league appearances. That's not bad, is it? The FA Cup, he had 3 appearances, 3 goals. League Cup, 6 appearances, because there's a couple of replays, 6 goals. Fantastic. So in all, he played 49 times in that one season, 1962-63. 49 times, and had scored an amazing 32 goals. Some stats that, wasn't it? What a player. What would he be like now? Absolutely fantastic. In a team, don't forget, in a team that absolutely struggled all season to do anything. And say a lot of games we struggled to even create chances, never mind score them. So this guy was pretty lethal. Loyalty-wise, a little bit doubtful though. I mean, Harley actually joined, yes, Birmingham City, who'd beat us 6-0. Perhaps he fancied that after they beat us 6-0 in the League Cup quarterfinals. Perhaps he fancied a trip back there. He joined Birmingham City, who'd managed to stay up. They struggled a bit themselves that season, but on the 14th of August 1963, 355 days after he joined us, he left for 42,000. So don't forget, it only cost 19,500. So although a 20k plus profit for City. He did actually stay there, so you doubted his loyalty. But then again, City were probably happy for the money, weren't they? So how much was he pushed, and how much did he want to jump ship? We can never quite be sure of that, unfortunately. So he certainly perhaps didn't fancy dropping down a division. But I think we're being a little bit unfair to him there, because at the end of the day, you weigh £42,000 in front of the City is not an insubstantial amount of money in those days, and you make a quick £20,000 profit. You're going to struggle in the second division. Obviously, this is where we ended up. So, how much was he pushed and how much did he jump? Well, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Eh? Let's say he was sort of pushed out, because how can you afford to lose such a striker of that quality? I mean, I'm going to be nice to him. I'm going to be nice to him and say he was pushed. Yeah, I mean, he actually went on to score 9 goals in 28 league appearances for Birmingham. Moved back to Scotland in 1965 and joined Dundee. He made just 10 appearances for Dundee, scoring 4 goals. So, I mean, it never stopped, did he? And then was transferred to Northern Irish club Portadown. Unfortunately, Mr. Harley, Alex Harley, who went to live in Birmingham after he sort of finished his career, died on 24th of June 1969 at only 33 years old. I've not been able to find out what he died of, to be honest with you. I have looked and checked and everything. If you know, let me know in the comments. But yeah, just a young age of 33. I mean, he was probably still playing football, wasn't he? He'll sit up to Portadown, and then he'd probably come over back to Birmingham with ill health, presumably, because obviously, as I said, he had finished his career at Portadown, but obviously ill health. He'd come over and obviously had found a home in Birmingham, and unfortunately died there. So bless him and rest in peace. There's no doubt his ability, and it's such a shame he joined City at a particular low point for the club, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, that sort of scoring ratio in, you know, perhaps under Mr. Mercer even and Mr. Allison 3 or 4 years later. All right, we don't know how he coped with it. Obviously, he may have been ill for some time if he died in 69, but perhaps he would have seen 2 or 3 seasons, obviously, and things may have been different. We don't know, do we? But such a shame he joined us at such a low point. Those that got to watch him were very, very lucky, I think. And he was one of the only bright spots in a dull and depressing season. That one season, though, does sort of confer cult and legend status, in my opinion. I mean, you might disagree on Harley, because those that remembered him apparently said he was a very, very special player. So for City, Alex Harley was definitely a player in time. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Please check my links on screen. If you follow or friend me on Facebook and Twitter, I'll do check every couple of days and follow you back. And my little day job, moviegamenostalgia.com, my little website. If you're into movies or TV, I do little, obviously I do little vlogs, don't I, on there, but I do sell old and rare DVDs. Movie posters from the 90s and 2000s when I used to have a video shop in Manchester, and we do board games as well. So you can check out moviegamenostalgia.com. That'll be absolutely fantastic. But thanks for joining me today anyway for this little player in time. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did you get to see him? I was a little bit too young. Obviously, that was about 3 seasons before I went to my first game at Main Road, but fantastic, and started playing with Bert Troutman and finished playing with Harry Dowd. I mean, that's great in a way anyway, isn't it? So yeah, thanks for joining me for this Players in Time, and Alexander Harley, rest in peace. Anyway, thanks for watching. What we're going to do the rest of the day, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. More importantly, let's all look after each other. Until we meet again, either here or perhaps on my film and TV channel, please stay safe, Blues. Burn the same. Goodbye for now.